Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Security Update. My name is Rimamnde Shawulu. Today, we examine Nigeria's worsening security situation between May 1 and June 17, 2026. This is not just another list of attacks. This is an attempt to answer the questions that many Nigerians are asking, one of which is insecurity reducing or is it spreading? The evidence from the last 6 weeks point in one direction. Insecurity is not reducing nationally. It is spreading, adapting, and becoming more frightening for the ordinary citizen. In the northwest, bandits continue to attack villages, markets, farms, and highways. In the northeast, Boko Haram and ISWAP-linked violence is showing renewed force, including attack on schools and security personnel. In the north central, Kwara, Plateau, Niger, and Benue states remain exposed to banditry, communal violence, rural attacks, and kidnappings. And in the southwest, the Oyo school abduction has sent a disturbing signal. The kidnapping nightmare, once associated mainly with the north, is moving southward. This update covers verified incidents, the regional spread, the most affected states, the patterns behind the violence, and the questions government, lawmakers, journalists, and citizens must now ask. The national picture is deeply concerning. Between 1st May and 17 June 2020, pattern of insecurity in Nigeria can be summarized in 5 points. First, the Northwest remains the epicenter of bandit violence. Katsina and Zamfara recorded repeated killings, kidnappings, village raids, and attacks on farmers. Second, the Northeast is seeing renewed jihadist pressure. Borno and Yobe recorded major incidents involving school abductions and attacks on security personnel. Third, the North Central zone is becoming a dangerous bridge. Kwara, Niger, Plateau, and Benue states sit between the long-running northern conflict zones and the South. What happens there affects the rest of the country. Fourth, the Southwest has entered a new watch phrase. The Oyo school abduction is not an isolated tragedy. It is a warning. Security agencies have recorded rescues and operations, but many responses still appear reactive rather than preventive. Too often, the pattern is attack first, response later, abduction first, rescue operations later, community mourning first, then official statements. That is the security reality confronting Nigeria today. Let us begin with the Northwest. This remains the most entrenched zone of banditry or terrorism in Nigeria today. The most affected states in the period under review were Katsina and Zamfara. In Katsina, repeated attacks showed the weakness of rural protection. Reports from May showed bandits attacking communities and markets. Around 18 May, reports indicated that about 10 to 11 people were killed in a Katsina market community attack. Among those reportedly killed was a pregnant woman. Houses were burnt, livestock was roasted, people fled. Then came the attack on Kilia village in Dutsenma local government area around May 30th. Reports indicated that many people were feared dead. Several were missing. Hundreds of residents fled to neighboring communities. But perhaps the most symbolic incident in Katsina was the abduction of retired Major General Rabiu Abubakar, his wife, and a driver along the Maraban Musawa Road in Matazu local government area. The driver reportedly escaped with injuries. The retired general and his wife were taken. Later, the Katsina state government announced that the retired general had died in captivity. This raised a frightening question for the public. If a retired major general is not safe, who is safe in Nigeria? The incident was not only a personal tragedy, it was a national symbol of how deeply terrorism and banditry have penetrated rural movement and public confidence.
These are our people running away from their villages because of banditry. As you can see, our environment, or let's say our area, that's one company, brother, is filled up with villagers around, brother. Please, let the government look into this matter. This is our area.
In Zamfara, the situation was equally troubling. Reports indicated that gunmen kidnapped 7 students from an off-campus residence in Kara Namuda. One reportedly escaped, while police continued search efforts. Then came an even more disturbing report. Bandits or terrorists allegedly invited villagers to a peace talk and then abducted dozens of them. Police figures put the number around 39, while local sources suggest that it may even be higher. This is important because it exposes a major weakness in local peace arrangements. When armed groups keep their weapons to territory and negotiate from a position of strength and force, talks can become a trap. And this is what has actually happened. Zamfara also recorded attacks on farmers. Around mid-June, at least 17 farmers were reportedly killed in Maradun area while working in their fields. That means that the violence is not only about kidnapping, it is also about food security. If farmers cannot safely go to their farms, the result is hunger, poverty, and displacement. The Northwest is therefore not improving. It remains the heartland of bandit violence, ransom kidnapping, village raids, and rural fear. In the Northeast, the old insurgency has not disappeared. It is adapting. During the period under review, Borno and Yobe recorded major incidents that showed renewed jihadist pressure. In Borno, suspected militants attacked a school in Askira Oba Axis. Students were abducted or declared missing. The location is important because it sits close to areas historically linked to insurgent activity, including forested and hard-to-police zones. The targeting of schools brings back painful memories of Chibok, Dapchi, and other school abductions. But this time, the fear is not limited to Borno. It now connects to Oyo, Zamfara, and other states where students and teachers are becoming targets. In Yobe State, suspected Islamic militants attacked a specialist military school that also trained police officers. At least 17 police officers were reportedly killed. At the same time, the military has reported tactical gains. In Borno, security forces reportedly rescued 92 abducted people, including women, men, and children, near the Buratai-Kamuya road. This tells us two things. First, security agencies are still capable of successful operations. Secondly, the fact that so many people had to be rescued means that abduction networks remain very active in the area. The Northeast is therefore not a solved conflict. It remains a dangerous theater where insurgent groups still have mobility, intelligence networks, and capacity to strike. The North Central region is now one of the most important zones to watch. Why? Because it is the bridge between the traditional northern conflict zones and the Southwest. The alarming case is Kwara. That is Kwara State. In late May, bandits attacked a prayer ground at Ori-Oke, Ajay near Ikeran village in Ekiti local government area. Reports indicated that 3 worshippers were killed and 15 people abducted during a night vigil. A day later, suspected bandits invaded Yaskira community in Boraten local government area, set parts of the emir's palace ablaze, and abducted residents, including women and children. This is deeply significant. Kwara borders Niger, Kogi, Ekiti, Osun, Oyo states, as well as Benin Republic. It is not just a state on the map, it is a corridor. If bandits become entrenched in Kwara, they can threaten the North Central and push pressure towards the Southwest. Then there is Plateau. Plateau has continued to face deadly violence on communities, armed militias kidnapping and attacking communities, emptying villages and settlements. Conflict monitoring data has already shown a serious deterioration in Plateau, with civilian attacks forming a large share of incidents in recent months. Reports around mid-June also indicated killings at a mining site in Jos South, although some of the reports require wider independent corroboration. Benue State remains a chronic high-risk state, even where current corridor data is less clear than in Katsina or Zamfara. The state remains exposed to violence, community attacks, displacement, fraud, kidnappings. Niger State is also critical because of its forests and positions as a transit and hideout zones, with a lot of violence in several of the local government areas and mass kidnappings of children that took place earlier in the year. The reports in May included controversy over military airstrikes and claims of civilian harm, which the military denied. The lesson is clear. The North Central is not just experiencing violence, it is becoming the transmission belt of Nigeria's insecurity. And now to the Southwest. The most disturbing development in the Southwest was the Oyo school abduction. Around May 15, armed men attacked schools in Orire local government area. Reports indicated that 39 pupils and 7 teachers were abducted. A school worker was reportedly killed, and there were reports that a kidnapped teacher was later killed. This incident sent shockwaves across the country because school kidnapping had long been associated mainly with the Northeast and the Northwest, and of late North Central, where large number of young people and pupils were abducted from a Catholic school in Niger State. Now it has appeared in Oyo State. That is why this incident must not be treated as a local crime story. It is a strategic warning. The Southwest has forests, schools, poorly protected communities, and corridors linked to Kwara, Kogi, Niger, and the wider bandit movement. Many of all this that have happened in the Southwest, especially in Oyo State, is that school kidnapping is now spreading to the South. The response of the state included arrests, surveillance efforts, and statements from government. The Nigerian Air Force reportedly deployed surveillance aircraft to track the abducted school children and teachers. But again, the bigger question remains, where were these schools vulnerable in the first place? If the security system only reacts after children are taken, then the country is failing at prevention. The Oyo attack should force the Southwest to ask urgent questions. Are rural schools protected? Are forest reserves being monitored? Are local hunters, vigilantes, police, DSS, and traditional institutions sharing intelligence? Are state governments preparing for threats that used to be dismissed as northern problems? The truth is that insecurity is no longer a northern problem alone. It is a Nigerian problem. When we look at the incidents between May 1 and June 17, one pattern becomes very clear. The attackers are targeting the places that ordinary Nigerians depend on. They are attacking schools where children should be safe. They are attacking farms where food is produced. They are attacking markets where people trade and survive. They are attacking roads where citizens travel for work, family, and businesses. They are attacking worship centers where people gather in faith. They are attacking security personnel who are supposed to protect the rest of the population. This means that the crisis is no longer about isolated violence. It is about weakening of daily life. A farmer who cannot go to the farm is not only a victim of insecurity, he becomes part of food security crisis. A parent who cannot send a child to school is not only afraid, the family becomes part of an education crisis. A trader who cannot travel to the market becomes part of an economic crisis. A rural community that flees becomes part of displacement crisis. So when we say insecurity is worsening, we do not only mean that more people are dying. We mean that insecurity is now attacking the very basic systems of life in Nigeria. And really, what are the factors that have driven this spread? We can think about 6 immediately. First, the kidnap for ransom economy remains profitable. Armed groups abduct students, travelers, villagers, farmers, and local leaders because they believe families and communities will pay. Second, forest corridors are helping armed groups move across the states, from Katsina and Zamfara to Niger and Kwara, and from Kwara toward Oyo and the southwest. Forests provide concealment, camps, escape routes, and hostage locations. Third, local peace deals are fragile. In some places, communities negotiate because they have lost confidence in state protection. But when bandits keep their weapons, peace talks can become instruments of control, extortion, or betrayal. Fourth, rural policing is weak. Many vulnerable communities are far from rapid response. By the time security forces arrive, attackers have already left. Fifth, the rainy season and farming cycle expose farmers to danger. The Zamfara farming killings show how armed groups attack people at their most vulnerable point while they are trying to produce food. 6. Nigeria is facing overlapping conflicts, banditry, jihadist violence, farmer-herder conflict, community revenge, criminal kidnapping. Separatist violence are not always separate. In many places, they overlap and reinforce each other. That is why security crisis is so difficult. It is not one war. It is many crises interacting, sometimes with international support. The government and security agencies have not been silent. The military has reported rescues. In Borno State, 92 abducted people were reportedly rescued. In Katsina, the widow of late Major General Rabiu Abubakar was later reportedly rescued as operations intensified. Police have confirmed investigations and search efforts in some incidents. The Air Force reportedly deployed surveillance aircraft in Oyo State. At the policy level, the National Assembly advanced the controversial state police reform process, but there are still major problems. The response often comes after attacks. Communities still complain of delayed intervention. Rural schools remain exposed. Farmers remain vulnerable. Forests remain difficult to control. Citizens can no longer believe official statements. So, the Nigerian state must move from reaction to prevention. The measure of success should not only be how many victims are rescued after abduction. It should be how many abductions were prevented in the first place. Between 1st May and 17 June 2026, Nigerian security crisis did not reduce. It widened. Katsina and Zamfara showed the entrenchment of bandit power in the northwest. Yobe and Borno showed that jihadist violence in the northeast remains deadly. Kwara shows that the north central is becoming a corridor of insecurity. Oyo shows that the southwest can no longer assume that it is far from the crisis. Benue, Plateau, and Niger remind us all conflicts have not disappeared. They are now merging with new criminal and militia patterns. This is the reality before Nigeria. The question is not whether security agencies are working. Some are working, no doubt. Some rescues have happened. Some arrests have been made. Some operations are going on. The question is whether the system is working well enough to protect citizens before this happens. Who protects the rural schools? Who protects the farmers? Who secures the forest? Who controls the highways? Who monitors peace deals with bandits? And indeed, are these peace deals legal and constitutional? Who tracks abducted citizens? Who holds officials accountable when warnings are ignored? And perhaps the most painful question, if a retired Major General can be abducted and die in captivity, what does that say about the safety of the ordinary Nigerian? This is not time for propaganda. It is not time for denial. It is time for clarity, urgency, and action. Nigeria's security crisis is no longer confined to one region. It is spreading across corridors, forests, roads, and communities. And unless prevention replaces reaction, next month may even be more dangerous than the last. My name is Rimamnde Shawulu. This is your security update, and thank you for watching.